Hey guys, Mythic here, and I do apologize about the audio. Currently, I'm out of state at the moment of recording, so I currently do not have my mic set up. But anyway, we're going to be going over how to set up Unity in this tutorial. Main reason is we had that first tutorial session, and I noticed a few people struggled getting Unity or having Unity installed, so we're going to go ahead and get this video up for you guys, so that way you have Unity installed in your next episode in the next lesson, so that you guys are experienced of how Unity works and all that. So the first thing you need to do is go to the link in the description to download the Unity Hub. Once you do that, you'll be greeted with the Unity Hub. It'll look something like this. You might have no projects in here, which is okay. First thing you want to do is go to your installs folder and install a editor. In this tutorial series, we are going to be using the 2022.3.9 F1 LTS version, so long-term support. To install an editor, you click install. But again, you can use any one that's just 2019 or higher. Just 2019 will only have the beta version of the input system. Just keep that in mind. And you'll have to go to archives if you want those older versions. But yeah, you can just click install here for that 22.9 version. So once that's installed, make sure you do click on the enable. You click on the toggle to have Visual Studio Community integrated with it. Otherwise, you can just use Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, but again, you'd have to set those IntelliSenses up yourself, so it's easier just to use Visual Studio Community that's already integrated and set up for Unity. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you create a new project, click New, you select the version you want here, and we want to scroll down to 3D URP. There's a few other templates that we can start with. We're going to be using that base 3D Universal Render Pipeline support here. If you haven't, you'd click Download Template if it doesn't show like this. Alright, so under the project name, we can call it like Tutorial Rebel Game Devs Tutorial. We can call it like Rebel Game Devs Tutorial. Under here, you can give it a location. Generally, I like to organize in this type of pattern. Obviously, you don't have to go with mine. Under one of my drives, I do have a programming drive on my laptop, and currently you can organize by what type of engine you're using. So like Unity in my case, Unreal Engine, UEFN, stuff like that. Under here, then you want to categorize it depending. So like important projects, you might have something like library support that you make. Group projects, small projects, tutorial projects. Maybe we're going to be currently having that that open source project. So under you can go to UNLV Game Dev and also make a folder for open source. But however you want, right? It's just my preference for organizing, and you want to select one of those folders, and then click Create. Unity will take some time to open on the first installation when you're first creating the project, but after that, it should only take a few, maybe 10 to 15 seconds. So you're going to be greeted with something that looks similar to this. You might have a few extra files. I just personally removed it from my template class or template project, so they don't incorporate them anymore. But what you might have is a tutorial sessions and some README files. I put the README and stuff like that in here, and then the base tutorial folder I delete just because we'll never use it. And that's what we should have. So in Unity, there you go. It's all set up. You have a nice little scene. If you click on the scene tab here, this is our scene. You can get a grid system by clicking on this right here to show the grids. So if we go to our camera, let's say we add like a 3D cube here. We'll go to global. You'll see now that we have this grid system. You can also change how much opacity the grids are given. You can change how much opacity the grid is given. I like to keep it there. You can change how much snapping is on that grid. So if you were to, right now it's currently a 1x1, so if you were to reset the transform the cube, you'll see it fits halfway in between. So if we were to set increments to, let's say like 0.5, hold control and move, you'll see it snaps in those increments, and it's all going by those grid snapping positions. We'll put that back to 1, now it's centered, so we can move by that grid. Again, you can even change where the grid is located. So on the X, Y, or Z. This might help in different scenarios. I like to keep mine on the Y axis, so it's across the Y. You can also set to handle, to origin, whichever one you like. Unity has something called center or pivot. What that means is, let's say I have um, three different cubes, right? This one, this one, this one, this one. If I highlight all these, I click pivot, it's going to go to the first object, or the last object that I clicked on, and that's the pivot. So if I rotate, they'll rotate. Well, let me set to local. You'll see how they're kind of rotating it across his. So if we center it now, it would center like so. That's just how that works. You might also have stuff like global, which happens a global space versus local. For instance, let's say I move this guy on the global space like this. And then let's go ahead and parent. So I'm going to delete a few of these objects. And I'll put this guy as a child. You'll see his rotation, if I set him to 0, he's going to be lined up now with this guy, even though this guy's 0 is not that. Because he's local rotation compared to this guy. But if we put this back to global, you'll see our axis change. And now you'll see as we're rotating this, it's changing all of them, even though it's only the Y. That's a little difference there. But if I rotate this guy, because it's a child, it will rotate with it, if that makes sense. Very cool. You also have other tabs, like our project tab. You can right-click to create different files, like C#, 2D, visual scripting, and so much more that's included as the base Unity. Obviously, you can get more by importing different libraries or different packages from the package manager, or simply creating your own. That's everything I have in here. I'll go over expector stuff later. This was just to kind of showcase Unity itself and try to show how to implement it.